Greetings everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to this channel of sharing knowledge, the channel of making education fashionable, the channel of making education matter. In this video, we're going to be discussing Veld or pasture management. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, welcome back. Please do not forget to like the video, share with other people, and also make sure that you don't skip those ads. Anyway, in this video, we're going to be discussing key topics when it comes to Veld or pasture management. Some of the questions that we will be asking is, why are pastures important to livestock farmers in South Africa? What is the relationship between pasture management and pasture condition? What are the different Veld management practices? How are the camps and farming units used as Veld management systems? What are the advantages and disadvantages of different grazing systems, and which Veld management practices can lead to poor pasture conditions? So we are talking about pasture, all things pasture, and this topic actually makes me think of Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me besides the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And all I can say to you is that the fact that you are here today, the fact that you are opening this video, then you're definitely going to pass this topic. The Lord shall lead you to greener pastures. Anyway, thank you so much. Once again, let's get to it. Let's talk about the importance of pastures. So we have discussed on the previous video that pastures are feed to animals, right? So now think about this. As a human being yourself, you need food to survive, right? You need food for productivity. You need food for energy. You need that food. You need the proteins, you need the carbohydrates. That is the same thing, guys, with animals as well. They need those minerals, they need that water, they need those carbohydrates. Hence now, pastures are primary source of food for animals, whether you are raising them for commercial or subsistence farming, but they serve as primary food source. And now, just as animals, just as human beings, animals also require constant source of proteins, constant source of carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins, water. Why? So that they can maintain the productivity and their health. For them to give us the wool, quality wool that we need, the quality milk that we need, the quality steak that you enjoy, the quality eggs that you want, they need pastures. Right? The lamb that you enjoy more, they need well-maintained pastures. Now, you will think about this. If you don't get proper food, you don't get the required energy, or sometimes there are changes in your body. Sometimes you lose weight if you don't eat properly, if you are suffering from hunger. So those are the things. But no, it's not only about that. But one thing that pastures also do is to ensure that there is sustainability in agricultural resources. Now, the pastures actually help to cover the soil. So now this prevents now soil erosion. And now when it comes to water, pastures actually help in preserving the water by minimizing the soil runoff into the rivers. Now this ensures that there is quality water. Are we still together? Now, when it comes to pastures, what will happen is pastures will consist of roughages as well as concentrates, right? So they can either be protein or they can either be carbohydrate rich. Now, when we're talking about roughages, these are the forms of stems, and leaves. Like now, most large farm animals are dependent on these, right? Now let's look at the pasture management. Why do we have to manage pastures? What is the relationship between pastures, well-managed pastures, and the conditions of pastures? Now imagine if you get home and you are always sworn at, you are always beaten, and this is a very bad example because it's a reality to some people and it's painful. Or you have a friend who always talks bad about you, who always humiliates you, who always embarrasses you. What do? You will retaliate at some point, and you will have a certain energy towards that person because this person doesn't wish you well. So how you react to that person will be different to how you react to someone who takes care of you, someone who's always protective of you. So this is the relationship between pastures, pasture management, how we treat the pastures and how they look. So if you treat the pastures well, then they will look good. They will be nutritious to the animals. They will be palatable to the animals. So they will provide a lot of nutrients. Now, if you remove the weeds that are not wanted in that soil, they will be palatable. And now that means there will also be an increase in nutrients because now they are not competing with the weeds. And now a well-managed pasture will maintain a full coverage. You won't see patches there because it is well taken care of. So we need to take care of pastures so that they can be in a good condition. Now, pastures that are in a good conditions means that the animals that are grazing in those pastures will then be in a good condition. Now, let's look at the veld management practices. So, veld management deals with the usage and also the conservation of velds, especially with natural velds. Now, why are we doing that? So that we can maximize the animal production without harming the natural plant cover. Right? So now for sustainable veld management, there must be a balance between vegetation, there must be a balance between climate, soil, and water. Now, where there is good veld management, as I have mentioned earlier, the animals will actually produce good quality. The natural vegetation will also be nutritious. So it's very important to ensure that we keep our velds in good conditions. Now we've got different veld management practices, but I want us to look at few: stocking rate, animal ratios, as well as the grazing system. Now, if we're talking about the stocking rate, now, what is the stocking rate? Now, a stocking rate is basically used to describe the number of animals that the farmer can place in that particular area for that particular period of time. Right? So, This is one of the important veld management practices. Now, what is it that you need to know when it comes to the number of animals that you can keep in that particular area? One, how much of this grass is actually produced in that particular veld, right? What is the quantity? So for you to be able to determine how many animals or livestock are going to be kept there, then you need to know the quantity of the veld, right? You also need to know the quality now of this grass. Is it sweet? Is it sour? We have discussed this, guys. Is it a mixed veld? And also you need now to know the needs now of these animals. Obviously, a cattle will graze differently from sheep, right? So you need to know the requirements, the needs. And now what will happen is if the stocking rate is too high, then this might actually lead into the decrease of the production of that particular individual animal and the production of the potential veld. So let's look at how do we then now calculate the stocking rate. This is what I want you to know. Practice, get the questions, and just interact with me in this case. Tell me what is it that you have found. Are you finding this interesting if you're still here with me? So how do you then calculate the stocking rate? So you divide the total available forage, right? That is the carrying capacity by the forage needs of a single animal. Now remember, I said it's very important. The factors that count is you must know the grass that is being produced, that is the quantity. How much is it? The quality of the grass, is it sweet, is it sour? The requirements of those animals, right? So now when you calculate stocking rate, this is basically the carrying capacity divided by the needs of that particular animals. Does it make sense? Now let's move to the animal ratio. Guys, animal ratio is very important. Now, the animal ratio will always be different. I told you the needs of different animals will be different, right? Now, if you are going to put cattle or a cow, let's say one cow and sheep in one place, you cannot put they cannot be equal. You cannot put 5 cows and 5 sheep in the same pasture, because obviously a cow is bigger than a sheep or a goat. Therefore, what does that mean? At least put 1 cow and 5 goats or 1 cow and 5 sheep in one area, in that particular area. So that is very important. Now, when we're talking about the animal ratio, this is basically what we are talking about. And then we have what we call the grazing systems. So farmers actually adopt different grazing systems, and the choice of a grazing system will depend on either the veld type or the condition of that particular farm. It will depend on the livestock system itself, and also it will be, sometimes it will be preference. Right, so we've got various grazing systems. We have rotational grazing, we have continuous grazing, and we have game farming, we have communal farming, and we have veld banning. So in this case now, the first one in this picture is a continuous grazing. Now, what happens in the continuous grazing? In continuous grazing, This is when group of animals are actually kept in the same grazing area throughout the entire period. So the feed is available to them at any point. So one camp, basically, as you can see, is allocated to each group of animals. Now, some of the disadvantages here that it's not actually not even a disadvantage, but the stocking rate, what you need to do is it needs to be low in order to reduce now the pressure of the palatable species. Then we have the rotational grazing. Now, what happens in the rotational grazing? You're actually moving the cattle now, or the animals in between camps or pastures. So now you will allocate more than one. However, they won't utilize all of them at the same time. So let's say now your animals have got 4 camps, right? What will happen is, let me open this one. They will have more than one camp, and then what you will do is you will actually now, for a particular period, you move them to camp A. Then the next one, you move the next time, or let's say in 3 months, you move them to camp B. In another 3 months, you move them to camp C, right? And then to camp D. Or alternatively, what you can do is you divide it into 3 camps or 6 camps. And then, as you can see on top of this picture, and then what you do, you divide your cattle again by 3. You put them into 3 camps, then you allow 3 camps to rest. Then now when you rotate, you put them in the second year, you put them in those camps that have been resting throughout. I hope this makes sense. Does it make sense? If it does, please do let me know. Please write a message down below. And then we've got actually veld management systems. Now, I want you to take some time, basically understand the different veld management systems. Write in your own words. I want you to use this one to comment on the comment section here on YouTube. Comment the importance of veld management systems. What do you understand about veld management systems? Which veld management systems do you know? And in your own words, how can you explain them? So there are actually advantages and disadvantages of grazing systems, and different grazing systems for that matter. Now, if you look at rotational grazing, now with rotational grazing is the advantage is that the condition of the grass can improve from one year to another, or from one point to another, and some grasses can actually be kept for grazing for in case of dry seasons where there is no water, where there is drought and food is less. However, because you need to make camps, there might be high fencing costs. And now, because mostly the animals will be in one camp, so there might be more water that is supplied inside the camps, and the laborers now might be the ones who are needed to actually move the cattle. Then with continuous grazing, because they are just grazing, they freely there are low fencing costs, and there's little work that is done, and animals can obviously just go there and they can just go and get water, but the disadvantage is that now this veld does not rest. So in cases of drought and less water, or in cases of dry seasons, then there might be less feed for these animals. Then we have communal grazing. With the advantages on communal grazing is that the numbers of animals are kept on 1 hectare of land, which is usually higher on commercial farms. So it means that the space here is usually smaller. And the disadvantage is that now the people in that particular area actually need to be organized and to actually assist each other to work together so that they can prevent a lot of things. And another advantage of this particular system is that in terms of products now, this system can actually give people more products, many other products for that matter, right? Now, let's check on veld management practices that can actually lead to poor pasture conditions. So as I have mentioned, there are many veld management practices, but also there are also many of them that can actually lead to poor conditions, poor pasture conditions. So if you treat your pastures good, if there is good management, obviously the conditions of those pastures will actually improve, right? Now, some of the poor veld management practices is overgrazing. If you actually don't give the veld a chance to breathe and you put more livestock in that particular veld or area, then they overgraze, then that is poor management. That is why we need to understand the stocking rate and also the animal ratio, right? Now, what is also important as a farmer is to understand the different grass species, right, and their values. I told you, you need to know the requirements, right? If there is a wrong calculation on the stocking rate, that can lead to poor veld condition. If you are not removing poisonous plants, that can make animals sick, right? If you are not allowing sufficient resting time, that can lead to poor conditions. If there's poor water management, that can also lead to poor conditions. If you ban the velds too early, the remains now will be there, right? And that will not be good. So for pastures to be in good conditions, the veld needs to rest. You need to be able to separate the veld units. You need to avoid overgrazing. You need to ensure that there is a correct stocking rate, there is correct animal ratio. Ensure that you remove all the poisonous plants. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for being here with me. If you enjoyed the session, please let me know. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share with other people. If there's anything else you would like me to focus on, please also let me know. Anyway, love and light. Please don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe to the channel. Much love.